And we are live. I'm Lily and you're Thommo, and we're Lily and Thommo.
Maybe not the original awesome pace pair, but we're definitely an awesome ace pair.
We are an ace pair, and we'll talk about the ace pair that made it to the
That's
finals.
final. I
What
know. Can you believe the finals upon us?
I'm I'm still kind of just what happened to England, mate? What I was supporting them. What happened?
I know. And what happened to Afghanistan?
I I also don't know either. It was like, oh well, I guess we're done playing. I have no idea.
That's right. That's right. But that should make for an interesting final anyway. South Africa, India.
Oh yeah, that's and this is where I
Mhm.
say, gosh, I wish I could watch it. I'm sure it'll be great. I'll tune in every once in a while and take a look at the score and see how it goes.
Do you know what? I feel like I ought to revive my commentary days and sort of give you a ball by ball, or as would you call it play by play,
Oh, that would be amazing. That
or
would
would
be
it be ball
incredible.
by ball
Well,
for you?
for me, it would be ball by ball. I mean, play by play
Okay.
reminds me of like a different sport. I would definitely say ball by ball because then because that's what it is. It's the delivery. It's each one, and each one matters.
Something we agree on when it comes to terminology.
I'll take that one off. Dink. Oh, because we could talk about batter and batsman, but we'll talk about that another day.
I know.
Hmm.
It's divided me in my brain, but
Has
we'll
it?
talk about it another
We
day.
will, because I'm very
Well,
excited to hear
well,
about what's in your brain right now.
well. Oh my goodness. Okay, so on my World Cricket Tour socials, I try to keep it light and just bring the fun. I want to be, a sort of fun corner of the interwebs
For
where,
sure.
you know, we talk about positive things and everything's, it can be inspirational, fine, where people have overcome adversity, that sort of stuff. But I tend not to talk about what I'm going to talk about, even though I'm actually still tempted to put a post up about it. So maybe don't fully rule that out. So to get to the point, unreal. Right, today I'm in training for a representative cricket match coming up, a cricket series coming up in October back in Australia, right? So I was just like, cool. I just, you know, go out, use the outdoor gym, do some running, no problem, no dramas. And to be fair, I wasn't even in a great mindset this morning. Okay. And I've been doing a course which I'll talk about another time because it's so good. It's a whole episode. But, I was like, right, so picture the scene. I'm not in a great mood anyway. I don't particularly love exercise anyway, but, to get your clothes on and get out the door, I think I'm doing quite well.
Oh, that's half the battle for sure.
More than her. So I hadn't even got 10 steps into running. And this man who doesn't look like he's done any running for comfortably 30 years shouts at me. Oh, you're making that look like very hard work.
What? Why? Like, what was it even necessary? Well, what?
And so I said to him sarcastically, oh, well, maybe we should get you a job as a coach then, as in you'd make the worst coach in the world. And because he was so devoid of any self awareness, he said, absolutely. And the thing is, why it's particularly bothered me, by the way, it's he sort of accidentally worked as a great coach today because that was just amazing inspiration to push further, push harder, and work very hard because he's told me that, you know, I engage in very hard work. So I was like, yes, thank you. I'm working very hard. But what particularly is wrong about this is not particularly what he said, or that he said it to me today, it's that it's part of a culture of men thinking it's absolutely okay to comment publicly on a woman when she's just going around her own business. I found this personally in person, but also online. And unfortunately, in some senses, I have my hair down today because, there's someone who will just message me going, "You look so much better when your hair's down." And it's like, right, thanks, dude. But the thing is, it's so insidious. And as women, we're expected just to either be quiet and be put in our place and be sort of, you know, cowed by what has been said to us. And we're certainly not supposed to answer back. And it's just everywhere. And I'm just sick of it. And I know this is a bit of a rant, but it's not on.
No, well, and it's that culture that we're trying to say, and that's not, people have opinions, et cetera, et cetera. Did that even need to be said? I guess I often think of like if something's being said, are we, encouraging someone? Are we contributing to the community? Are we helping the world by the words that we're using? Or are we just, I don't know, using up oxygen? Are we being
I know.
hurtful? Are we not thinking when we open our mouths? And that exchange just reminds me of there is a particular culture, and that's not to say that everyone participates in that. It's just
No.
um I don't know, maddening. I think I go back to like, aren't these modern times? And thinking, what, how can we still be in this type of, I don't know, relationship with each other where that's okay, because it's not.
It's totally not okay. And what you were saying there, it's that whole, is it kind? Is it necessary? And I would argue that it was neither. But, I mean, I can quite comfortably and happily turn things around and use it to my advantage. But, the fact is, we're having this conversation right now. He's going about his merry day, hasn't given it a second thought.
Oh no, no, because it's part of that. So it was explained to me once, and it was fascinating. I had an experience actually, um, when I was in Australia working at a cricket match, and I was working with someone, and he was, my manager, for lack of a better, like I was managing and he was
Mm.
managing like the whole affair. And I hadn't done it before, and so I was looking at the list, looking around, and I went up to him and I said, "So, I'm like, what else needs to be done?" And he literally sat back and said, "You just need to stand there and look pretty." And okay, I'm in a foreign country. I'm in, I don't know how things work, cricket wise, but all red flags came up and said, I don't think that's appropriate. But I didn't say anything because I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm volunteering here. It's a really good experience for me. And that ended up being a good experience because in working with the Empowered Cricket program, we teach voice and to speak when
Mm.
things are wrong. So I ended up going to HR and saying, I just want to let you know there's a couple of things that happened, and they were on it. No, that's not appropriate. No, we don't allow that in our country, because I was very just like, I was just wondering, back in the States, this could be, a huge issue. And they're like, no, 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 it's the
Mm.
same here. I said, okay, I just want to make sure. But then it was brought to my attention that a lot of people within, and it's not just cricket, it's just in sports in general, are still along that mindset as far as where women are. And I don't know, it's wild to me. It's absolutely wild.
Yeah, I mean, when you said that, I mean, it's so wrong. You'd almost hope that he was saying it ironically and knowingly, like, oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of what we used to say to the women. It just does not sound like that whatsoever.
No, and that's it. Like, my mate who was talking to me about it said, that's just how they kid. That's how they're like, oh, I say kidding. I'm like, I mean, Grant, I'll take it. Oh, I can sit here and look pretty. That's great. Does that mean I'm not pretty? No. But then I, I was just trying to figure out how that would be appropriate. And yeah, it wasn't. I was literally, I'm like, how can I, kind of like you, can I make this? How does this? I'm like, not, I feel creepy. This is weird. I need to go take care of it. But had I not been teaching that program, I would have just, I would just let it, brushed it off and said, ah, well, that's just how he is, or, whatever. Um, but I was like, no, I can't be teaching these girls that this is how we need to protect our personal voice and our personal boundaries if something was said to me that was uncomfortable, especially in a volunteer slash workplace. Like, it's something has to be said, because those precedences don't change if we don't acknowledge the fact that, what, it's just it's just not appropriate.
It's not appropriate. You're so right that you have to call things out. Like today's example, that one sort of missed his mark anyway. So I know nothing will happen, but quite recently on tour and prior, there have been instances where I have needed to call something out that I felt uncomfortable in doing so because, it's not a comfortable situation. But then I have, and then I've been treated like I was the person who was wrong for either trying to, comment on the status quo and say maybe that's not an appropriate way. But also, again, I think it's the shock that here's a woman standing up vocally for what's right. And in those moments, quite recently, where I've thought, oh my goodness, I have to say something. What's ultimately driven me to open my mouth is the fact that, exactly like yourself, I am preaching, use your voice. Women, you've got to stand up, you've got to say things. And then if I'm just not doing it, then I'm not living what I truly, truly believe. But I know how hard it is. And also, there's so many or potential repercussions by using your voice. Not always in my case, because in a lot of situations I'm visiting, saying my piece, responding to other people's pieces, and then moving on. So that's fine for me. But you just think, oh, that, there'd be so many situations where speaking up is dangerous. But then I think that's when you need those entire social shifts and community shifts where people all stand up together and say, no, that's not okay. And that sort of thing takes time, but we still have to work towards it. So I'm really, really happy and passionate that you've got empowered cricket, as because what a system that is. And that makes so many differences to so many lives. It's so important.
Oh, I agree. And thanks for saying that. And that's why, as we slowly start rolling it out into different places, um, just to have that additional education within the game, because the game teaches it. I mean, it's so simple, yet at the same time it's so out of the box. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's so cool. I love it. But I read something somewhere where if there's someone who, if a male stands up in like a business meeting or something and is very assertive, it's like, oh, well, he's very strong, he's very confident. Whereas if a woman stands up and is very assertive, then, it's like she's frowned upon, like, oh, look at her, and, she's just grouchy, or blah, 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 and all these things. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. It's the same, assertiveness, but it's, again, it's just attached to, perhaps place or role assumptions, or whatever, that it's just, it's wild to see.
It's absolutely wild, and you absolutely nailed it there. I was just in my head going boom when you were talking, because it's so true. Like, men are assertive, women are aggressive. But in that example, I would love it if at least the woman had been listened to, because the amount of times from my own personal experience where I've come up with ideas in meetings, been ignored, and then men subsequently in the next meeting have launched the same idea as their own. I thought that was a unique thing to me, and that was bad enough, but I was horrified to realize that that is also endemic. But anyway, we can talk about all these things ad nauseum, and I'm sure we'll come back to this in future
For sure.
discussions. But